Can I have your attention, please? We'll be starting up shortly. I didn't look at the 2-4 minutes. Did you bring them? Oh, you have them? Okay. I think I have them at home. Good evening and welcome to the Lowell Planning Board for March 4th, 2019. First order on the agenda is the minutes for the approval of February 4th, 2019. Any of the board members have any comments, corrections on the minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I just have one slight revision. And first, a comment. I thought Jared did an exceptional job on these because there was a lot of
stuff.
And Patrick and Christine, they do a good job on the minutes, but this is really extraordinary. But on page 7, he credited me as thanking the speaker for articulating some thoughts that we were trying to express. That was Mr. Sinensky appropriately thanked her for commenting. Did you have it correctly? Yeah, okay, good. But other than that, I make a motion to approve minutes, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motions have been approved. The next matter on the agenda is a special permit for 219 Central Street. An application was submitted by the Marshall Company seeking special permit approval at 219 Central Street, number 1E. The applicant proposes to open a real estate office on the ground floor of the existing building. The property is in the downtown mixed-use zoning district and requires a special permit pursuant to Section 9.3, the Downlay Overlay District, and Article 12, Section 12A, and relief from the Zoning Board of as required by the Lowell zoning ordinance. May we hear from the applicant, please?
Good evening. Not really familiar with the process here, so not sure what information you needed. Please let me know, and like I said, we'll provide it.
Well, basically, you state your reasons why we should approve this project. So the burden's on you to tell us, and then we vote. So you can tell us anything you want.
Sure. I mean, it's a simple space. We're a real estate office. We're out of the Boston area right now. We service a lot of clients in Lowell.
Can we just first have your name and address for the record, please?
Sure. It's Willie Mandrell of the Mandrell Company, and my address would be the 219 Central Street in Lowell.
Did you post a sign on the address for tonight's meeting?
We did.
When did you put that up?
It was put there a couple days ago. It was taken down by my contractor, but we have been informed that, like I said, of that, so we put it back. We placed it back up.
Can you tell me what day you had it up a couple days ago? Because I was there a couple of days ago and it wasn't there.
We purchased the office space in. I'm sorry. When did we purchase it? End of January.
Okay.
No, that's not right. Is it right? Yeah. We started the permitting process a week after that, so I would say 2 weeks into January, or excuse me, 2 weeks into February.
Wasn't there last Wednesday? Where'd you put it? Where was it on the property?
In the front window.
Oh, wasn't there Wednesday? All right, go ahead.
Sure.
I was here Wednesday at 3:30. It wasn't there.
Okay.
But go ahead.
Again, like I said, our contractor had been doing some work over there, and it was removed some things around, and we had informed him to put it back. So, again, it's a simple real estate office. I'm not sure what other information you need. We service residential clients out of the space. Hours of operation: 9 a.m., 6:30 p.m. Typical business hours. Small space for our agents to operate in.
And I'm sorry, what were the operating hours again?
Roughly 9 to 6, 6:30, somewhere around there. We don't really we don't have any set hours, but we probably wouldn't be servicing any clients after the 6:30 p.m.
Anything else like that?
No, I mean it's pretty straightforward. I mean, it's like I said, it's the same business we're operating in the city, and we, like I said, would like to do the same in the city of Lowell.
Okay.
I apologize for I wasn't under the impression I was going to have to speak to this evening. So.
Well, that's what the public hearing is for, so people have a right to come in and speak for it, people have the right to come in and speak against it.
Yep.
Then we listen to all the proposals, then we look in for all the staff comments by the 5 different departments, and then we make a recommendation. Okay. If you have nothing else there, thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Anybody else want to speak in regards to this matter? on 219 Central Street, number 1E. Anybody else want to be heard on Central Street? On Central Street, on Central Street? Hearing none, at this point in time, I'll turn it over to any of the board members if they have any questions.
Mr. Chairman, I just have one
Sure,
quick question.
okay. Mr. Guys?
So customer service operations, will they be open to the public on the ground floor? And if so, what portion of the floor area does that occupy?
The building is, or the condo is roughly 700 square feet. We'd be servicing customers in the entire 700 square feet. We don't,
All right.
there is no separate space for any other, excuse me, the part of the 1E is the 700 square feet condo. We also own one, is it F? Or B, which is the basement storage space, so that would obviously not be used as, for servicing clients. It would just be
Okay.
storage.
All right, and then one other comment. Proposed sign must comply with downtown historic review guidelines. Windows cannot be blocked. You're aware of that, correct?
We are.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
That's all I have. Turn it over to the other board members. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Lockhart?
How many agents do you expect to be on site at any one time?
4.
4?
Yeah, no, we knew typically, I mean, real estate our model is virtual. Most of our agents are working from home or on their laptops or in a Starbucks or in a coffee shop. I wouldn't see any more than 4 people in that office space at any one time.
Okay. And you are working with the Historic Board Administrator and your signage?
We are.
Okay. Have you come to any resolution there yet? Or-
We have not. We were under the impression that we probably should go through this process first before we
Yeah, okay.
complete the signage.
All right.
Requirements.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay. Dick, you have any questions? I'm sorry.
No, I do think it's an appropriate use for the property in that district, and I have no issue with it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Fischett, any questions or comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a comment, I thought the applicant did a good job with the narrative, providing the information that we would be looking for to determine whether that's appropriate fit. More commenting towards the staff letter in looking at the layout, and I know we've got you to acknowledge that you're not to block the windows, but I know in your layout, you show a couch on the windows, I guess would be right on Central Street. I'm assuming you're going to reconfigure that?
The couch sits below the window line.
Is it below the window line?
It is.
Okay,
Oh, right there. Yeah.
all right.
That's it.
And I did, looking at the criteria, I mean, obviously for a downtown, and you can appreciate this, for downtown overlay district, and it's a professional business and it's an office, but certainly would have been looking to see more retail type of business with a storefront. Having said that, I don't think this is an inappropriate use for the site. So from that perspective, I certainly wouldn't have an issue with the application. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Caleb, any questions or comments?
I think all the,
Just push your microphone for the green button comes up, okay? That way it picks you up. Okay, go ahead.
There you go.
I think the more board members have asked all the questions I have.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I have no questions after reviewing the application, so what's the request of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the special permit for the use of 219 Central Street, Unit 1E, as a real estate office.
I'll second the motion.
Second that motion.
Okay. Motion second, I think Mr. Lockhart seconded first.
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes yes, so your special permit's approved. Good luck, sir.
I appreciate your time, sir.
You're welcome,
Thank you.
sir. Next matter on the agenda, we have a site plan review for 3 Foundry Street, 49- Marshall Road. An application was submitted by 420 Industries Company seeking site plan review approval to an open marijuana cultivation facility at the above listed address. The building is in the light industrial zoning district and needs site plan review approval from the planning board under section 7.10 and other relief as requested. May we hear from the applicant, please?
Good evening, guys. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. We are 420 Industries. We are a local home state cannabis business. This is my business partner, Keith Hammond, and myself. Between the two of us, we have 7 children. We've invested most of our life savings and our 401ks into this business. We are not a major corporation. We are a small-time business, and we are seeking a marijuana license for the recreational side of things here in Massachusetts under a micro business license. The micro business allows us to grow 5,000 square feet. The building that we will occupy is 12,000 square feet. Within the space, we will be able to have enough leverage to be able to manufacture products, package products, storage vault, office space, movement, vegetation room, flowering rooms, fertigations, ventilations, and clean and dirty spaces for the business to operate. We have been in existence as an operation for 2.5 years, advocating on behalf of recreational cannabis. We have many patients that we caregive for legally under the Massachusetts law for medical marijuana. We have recently received the backing of former Congressman Barney Frank. He has signed on to help us with the advocacy side, but also on a small funding front. And we're looking to set up business here in Lowell to help the community on a diversity plan to encourage local employment. We will be seeking to have 20% of our staff full-time and part-time as part of our everyday business operations. We will be growing cannabis in 5,000 square feet of space in the building, and the rest of it will be used for the manufacturing of products. Everything will be sold to a licensed retailer. Everything will be used to be transported through all the regulations that the Cannabis Control Commission of Massachusetts has set up with the vehicles, the affidavits, the seed to sale tracking system. Our security plan has been signed off by the Lowell Police Department, and the deputy fire chief has also looked at our plan and has approved it. We have done extensive work with a former Boston sergeant for the Boston Police Department on his business's security, so we will be working with him to actually secure our building. He's helped us draft our security plan. Above and beyond that, the scope of our operation will be to create a sustainable, healthy business here. We do not plan to have a sign up at our location. Our location will be nondescript and protected to the best of its ability for the local residents and also for our own safety and our own safeguard. We plan to do everything that is necessary to ensure that that is what will happen for our business here in town. Thank you very much.
Did you receive the comment from planning staff dated February 25th?
Is that one in regards to the easement?
Well, it has 5 pages. The easement is one of the questions, yes.
Yeah,
So if you want to start with the easement?
Yeah, we can start with that.
Do we have the easement?
Yep. The suggestion, may I approach with some graphics?
I'm saying the easement is a piece
Yeah,
of paper on a
see
deed
the
that's
plan.
drawn on property that's recorded at the registry of deeds.
Right. Well, the difference here is that the easement is asked for a certain easement of this property only for transportation of and with our vehicles and emergency vehicles. But our proposed driveway is on the back side of the building itself.
The one you show is how people are going to get in there.
Okay, so people are coming down, excuse me.
Yep.
Hold that. People will come down Plain Street, and they'll leave to the right and take a left on a Foundry. All of our access vehicles will come down between these 2 buildings, and they will travel down the proposed driveway around the building right up into our property.
So they're not going to come in and take the left like I did and then pull right up to the building and stop?
Well, sir, that would require a deed and an easement from the Massachusetts Electrical.
Right.
Correct.
And our goal is to negate having the need for the contact with them and actually to propose a safe passageway up around the building to our location.
So how are you going to direct that traffic way to make the whole loop all the way up and around and come all the way back? and then don't go back out that way.
Not go back out that way, right?
Well, the only people that will be entering and exiting our business are our employees. It is not a retail business, so there will not be traffic. So we will make sure that all of our deliveries, our delivery drivers, and everybody knows that this is the way that you have to go in order to deliver.
So how are you going to direct them to do so?
We can direct them with a sign right here on the corner, on this corner, that says for access to this business, they can go that way. And then down here, we can have the sign that says follow it that way.
So you don't think the average person just going to come in, take a left, and go right to the front of your building, like I did, and everybody else went up for the site visit? I mean, that's how we all got there when we went to look at the building.
I'm sure that's a great possibility, and I can't control anybody else's actions. I can definitely direct them in the way that I see is the best and safest.
So then we'll need a signage plan how you're going to do that, right?
Right.
I can provide that if that's something that you need, yeah.
Mr. Chairman, just
Sure, go ahead.
looking at the plan too, though, but the property that's Mass Electric, I mean, that, matter of fact, the area that's not, you actually would have to pass through parking.
We have a proposed change of striping here on this building, so if where these parking spaces
You can't
away
do
on
that.
this corner, and you're able to access this area.
Didn't we have a question also about parking spaces, and they requested that you give us a new parking outlet? So on that plan, can you show us the 11 spots? Because I don't see it on my plan.
Yep, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Is that on the plans you submitted to us?
These have been redrafted over the last 48 hours to help accommodate for the easement question. The easement was, it was a huge discussion of the contact and the contracts in place with them. So rather than have to go through months and years of negotiation and back and forth with them, we decided that the best angle for us was to actually have access to our building by going around.
Okay, so we don't have a new parking plan, correct? That was submitted to the board or to staff, correct?
That parking plan is
Not submitted to us, right?
here now. Yeah.
Okay, so,
My apologies.
okay, so that don't count. Go ahead. Anything else you want to add?
Mr. Jack Taylor is here, and he can speak on behalf of the property itself, the property he owns back here for the proposed driveway, and also the mode of transportation in and out. If that's
Okay, sure, I mean, but, okay, I mean, okay, go ahead. It sounds to me like you don't have all that information before us, and it wasn't submitted to everybody else, and you didn't answer a lot of the questions that staff asked you, but go ahead. And if you give it to us tonight, it's inappropriate because it's not on time for the meeting, so, but, go ahead. We'll listen, go ahead. I'm listening. Keep going. We're listening, yep. Go ahead.
Should I give any history or?
So Jack is here to explain the history of the easement and the current property that he owns to allow us the access.
Okay.
With your permission, my name is Joseph Paley. I own the Foundry Industrial Park and the adjacent property, which was formerly owned by the railroad, which I purchased 12 years ago. People know me as Jack. The Robinson Foundry was there during the Civil War, and the small office building, which I can point out to you, was built, we think, around 1870, 1880. We purchased the property in 1970, and since then have built 4 or 5 buildings on it, all with the permission of the city and the review of the planning board. Approximately 40 years ago, we built the building which Andrew is considering going into, and it was originally the place where the mercury heat shield was built and stored. The railroad land on the side, I've been trying to buy for the better part of 25 years. Dealing with the railroad is not a fast thing, but we finally bought the property 12 years ago, which gave us much more access around the building. Prior to that, we had 2 feet between the property line and the building. Now we have 35 feet, and in some places 50 feet. Approximately 20 years ago, we went before the planning board and got a special permit for Sherwin-Williams to store paint. And approximately 15 to 20 years ago, we went with Phoenix Infrared. They made a process that involved a very, very dangerous gas, hydrogen solenoid. The fire department granted its permission, and until recently, they were the tenant. So what we're trying to do now is replace Phoenix Infrared, which had the hydrogen solenoid, with a company that has a more benign use. The building is on the city water system. It has a high level of sprinkler control. As far as the power company land goes, since we bought the land, we've been going back and forth as to who owns the power company land. In 1995, the power company came to me and said, we would like to resolve it by giving you a 20-year license. Some people have used the term easement. Attorney Linehan knows the difference between a license and an easement.
One expires, one doesn't.
We had a license on the property for $1 from 1995 to 1915, and I have a copy of that license. Approximately 2 years ago, on this building, we put 1,000 solar panels, and the power company, to say the least, is not happy about it. As you may know, municipalities are encouraging solar. The power companies are fighting back. We still use that property. The power company knows we use the property. It has never been a problem. We've gone before the planning board numerous times for permits. But because this time somebody requested the status of our right to cross and recross, we have come up with an alternate way around the property because, frankly, I can't speak off the record, we really don't want to deal with the power company if we can avoid it. They have been extremely hostile to us. My attorneys tell us we have certain rights to cross and recross. The fire department uses it to cross and recross. There's a hydrant on it. But in order so I don't have to go to the power company hat in hand saying, what's it going to take, we have the additional land that I purchased for the railroad land for circulation, and I also stand ready if the planning board requires it, we will take 12 feet off the building so we don't have to have any involvement with the power company. I suspect that we will have resolution with the power company as soon as we get the solar situation squared away. Sorry to be so long-winded, but
It's quite no problem.
I think there were some other requests that were made, which I, as the developer, would say, if the engineering department wants additional lighting, we will do whatever they require. If the engineering department wants fenced-in dumpsters of any size, we will require with that, if you want to put that in the order of conditions.
No, I mean, the lighting plan is a requirement for the site plan.
Yeah,
Well-
sorry, sir, the lighting is every position where there's a camera, there is supposed to be a mark for the lighting itself, so.
So what you do is just give us a copy of that lighting plan and we'd be all set.
Yeah, I would certainly say to the committee that without reservation, whatever lights the committee wants, it's pretty well lit now, and as a matter of fact, Marshall Road has a street light on it that illuminates a lot of the area. But if the engineering department and the city required or requested more
Actually,
lights.
it's part of the site plan requirement. When you fill out the application, it tells you have to submit a lighting plan.
As I said,
so
my ignorance is, I've been doing this for 50 years, I never thought, we can certainly do a lighting plan. That would be an affirmative yes. As far as a dumpster location, we would certainly do that to the requirement, and we would obtain a dumpster permit. I'm aware of that requirement. There was a request that we keep the catch basins clear. That's a reasonable request. We'd be happy to do that if you want to put that in writing. We've been doing it for 50 years. Pretty much all the requests from the engineering department seem reasonable and easy to comply with. If we don't have a lighting plan, I'll put that on my shoulders. I just we'll certainly be happy to file one. There, on the side where Andrew is considering going, there are no residences in near, so it shouldn't really be a problem to put whatever lights. Does the planning board have any guidance what they want for lights? I mean,
No, all you have to do is speak with staff, show them what you have, you draw the plan up, and you submit it to us.
sure.
It's a
I
basic one
apologize that that wasn't submitted.
It's in the application that you filled out, and tells you what to check off, and it's just one
We
of the
could
basic
certainly,
requirements. So,
we could certainly file that, and if the,
yeah, we can't
if you want to
technically-
make that an order of conditions, we could do that, or wait for approval for a later date. That should not be a problem. Were there any other things that the planning board was,
I'm just going over the comments we got from staff. Another one we had was snow storage. Yeah, they show us a picture where the snow is blocking the garage in the back way now.
my crew plows it. We only had 2.5 acres there to begin with. We bought 1.1 acres from the railroad. We can certainly put the snow on the former railroad land. To my knowledge, it has never been a problem. If you would like us to designate a snow
should be, yep.
storage area,
Yep,
we can
it should be, and
certainly
it should
do
be on the
that.
plan, yep.
Whether my plow, I'm not trying to make light of the, you know, we're not putting it on somebody else's,
Oh, we get that. That's why we just
Driveway.
ask the plan, you show us who it is, and then we either go along with it or
not
we
be a
don't.
problem. We can certainly put the snow keep it on our property. There's no reason to remove it. And as I said, we had just 12 years ago acquired probably 30% more property. That land will never be developed because of the
Excuse me.
railroad requirement. We can just use it to cross and recross. Again, I apologize for the lack of a lighting plan. It was our ignorance.
Anything else? Anybody like to add?
My hearing isn't all that good, so if there was something I missed during the presentation, I'd request, I think this is a good use for the building. It's certainly a better use than we had there before with Phoenix Infrared. It's a fairly benign use. It's an existing building that the city had us build. It seems to me, and I know it's self-serving, but as the landlord, it's a pretty benign use with very little traffic, no noxious chemicals or anything that I'm aware of from the prior use and the prior approvals. Basically, we'll be happy to do whatever the city wants. We want to be we paid our taxes. I think people always ask about that. We are current in our taxes. I mean, if there are other requests that are ex officio or whatever, we're open to suggestions.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else on behalf of the applicant want to be heard before I turn it over to the public?
Anything else, sir?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Anybody here this evening want to speak in favor of this project? Anybody? Just come to the microphone, please, and give us your name and address.
Evening, gentlemen. Name is Jamel Walterding. I am the co-owner of Mill City Barbecue, 1018 Gorham Street. I met these gentlemen, Andrew and Keith, last year, June of last year. They started doing community outreach for 420 Industries at my restaurant to talk to the community and find out what their complaints were, if they had any. I didn't, see too many objections to what's going on. I've seen a lot of positivity as far as talks of what's been happening. As far as I know of what these guys are doing something great. They were talking of bringing jobs to the area. I lived in the area as well. My business has been going strong for 2.5 years now. With the help of what they're doing, it's actually trafficking a little bit more. And we've been having more of a positive note on the cannabis industry as well. These guys have been making us feel safe of what's going on, ensuring us that there will be no crime or anything of that magnitude that will be befalling the area. They've been taking precautionary steps to gain support from the local community, and if you would have them, they would be great. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to speak in regards to this matter? Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Brian Hayes. I'm not a Lowell resident, but I've been to a couple of the events that they've had in the community, and
We just have your name, though, Brian. They just want it for record. Thank you.
Pardon me?
Can we just have your address, please?
Oh yeah, Greenfield, Massachusetts, 163 South Shelburne Road, Greenfield, Massachusetts.
Yes, sir.
So at these events, it's taken a skeptic like myself and helped me better understand some of the goals and the education process and some of the benefits that they're trying to share with the community. Taking some talent that's in this marketplace and actually using it for good, as opposed to what may be going on now, and educating folks, giving them the right equipment, giving them the right tools to be successful in this category. These guys have done a great job, not only in Lowell, but in other communities, to build awareness to the cannabis market space. And, I'm excited about it. I'm excited to hear that they've had great success thus far, and that, other Lowell businesses are happy to put on events with us. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to speak on this matter? Anybody else? Anyone else? Anyone else? No one else at this time? At this time, I'll turn it over to any board members who have any questions.
I have a couple of things.
Sure. Mr. Lockhart?
I'm looking at a memo that I think I just came in today. It's dated February 28th. From Jared to us in relation to the project. On page 2, item 4, it indicates that you had submitted security plans to the police department, submitted to the fire department, has received your application materials. And in both cases, it indicates that the staff is waiting for confirmation from these respective departments. And item C is the solid waste and recycling has reviewed the plan and recommended changes to the size and trash corral to accommodate dumpster for recycling. Did you indicate when you first started your testimony that you had received approval?
Yes. Yes.
I mean, I have nothing here that tells me that that's been approved. I'm not sure.
We had something from the fire department.
Yeah, I see something from the
Was there
fire
something from the
department.
fire department?
Well, let me see.
Oh, I guess there was, yeah. From the
Yeah,
fire-
we have a memo
I'm sorry, I do, yeah, okay.
from the
What about solid
Deputy
waste
Casey.
and recycling?
Have we received a memo from them? I'm sorry, I'm not understanding the question.
Solid waste and recycling, have they given you approval of what you?
They've given us approval as they said, as long as the dumpster space itself was large enough to hold a solid waste and a recycling container.
Yeah, I think that's concluded on page 4 of the memo.
On page 4 here, yeah.
Page
Don't
4,
mean-
all right, I think it's
on-
this one.
Yes, sir. And if I may address, the lighting plan is included in our security plan, which has been
Oh, yeah,
reviewed by the
that's- all right.
police.
But-
That goes to the police department, but the police doesn't do lighting. We do lighting. They do security.
Right,
So the lighting plan, the police department, means it wasn't filed with us, it's not in front of us, and we can't approve it without one. So, it's like if you gave us the security letter. I mean, the lighting plan comes before the planning board, not the police department. If you have the lighting plan, we'll just need that. Okay. Go ahead, Richard. So, So they had a question on the dumpsters, Rich, and they told me I had to relocate them.
Right,
Yeah, that's on.
I saw that,
Yeah,
okay.
so we have that for, yeah, that was on the last notes, yeah.
All right, under item 8, under this memo, it states, "The site plan indicates that 4 parking spaces will remain in a location close to the delivery loading area. A box truck swept path analysis shows a potential area of conflict with at least one of these spaces," and it's circled in red on the memo. Are you familiar with that situation?
Yes, and the parking spots have been adjusted.
They have been adjusted.
Yeah, this is, they've been adjusted along with this proposal
All
that we
right,
brought today.
but they're not reflected on the plans we have currently, are they?
The plans you currently have in your hands, no, but I could.
Okay, all right, yeah, all right. All right, I just make a comment. I really, you're trying to avoid the Mass Electric, the easement there by going up and around back. I just don't, I'm not comfortable with that approach at all. I think you have to address the easement and give us the status of that. I think it's critical to the project. I mean, you're not going to be able to control that at that point. You're going to have people going in multiple directions there if you don't. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Lockhart. Any other board, Mr. Snetsky?
Yes, my main question that I have is regarding odor abatement. I know, that I've heard clearly from several people that other facilities, do emanate odors. I checked into it a bit with staff, and I understand that the systems, and the requirements are still being developed by the Cannabis Control Commission. But I would like to know, at least at this point, what your plan is, what the criteria you're using, to be certain that you are, in fact, providing appropriate and adequate equipment to abate any odors from the surrounding, from being emanated into the surrounding areas, because I understand that is a potential problem with these types of facilities, and I'm sure it can be handled, but but I'd like to know what you're hearing from the Cannabis Control Commission and what you and your engineers or whomever are doing and how you're sizing it and how you're designing it at this point.
Yep. So when we started, we hired a local growing consultant to help us with the whole entire build, the construction of it. So think of it as layers of insulation. So for example, inside of our building, we're going to have containment units. Those containment units will be where the actual product is being grown, where the centralized smell is coming from. Each containment unit has its own filtration system and its air quality control system built in inside it. And then the building itself has its own ventilation. So for one, you're controlling it internally. And secondarily, as the air gets pumped out of the building, it gets controlled through an ionizer and a HEPA filter and a carbon filtration system as it exits the building. So virtually when you walk into most of these spaces, you don't even smell it when you walk in the door because everything's controlled on an internal environment. Secondarily, as whatever is in the building escapes, it goes through a secondary filter.
Have you, again, I know I've been told that as I raised the question with, through staff and whatever, is that the regulations for the odor abatement and containment are still being developed by the Cannabis Control Commission. Have you received any guidance on that as yet?
Yeah, data is different in terms of what your grow is, and the Cannabis Control Commission has set up different tiers for the different amounts of product that you are growing. So there's a certain amount of carbon filters and ionizers you need as you step up the tier level. We are on the smallest level of grow that there is. The amount of space is about 3,400 square feet of plant material that will actually emit anything. And a lot of the smell itself is actually taken care of and mitigated right there at that internal facility.
I'd like to address a question to Patrick, perhaps. Do we have anyone on staff, be it, in development or in engineering, that would be qualified to review this and render an opinion on the plans that they have for this odor abatement?
I'm honestly not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't want to assign the job to anyone either.
No, I understand this is all new, this is new to all of us, and, I just want to make sure it's done right, because as I say, I've heard, a number of comments about, other facilities where the abatement apparently is not sufficient. And I just want to be very certain that, we don't, and believe me, I'm not criticizing, I'm asking.
Yeah, and
Let me address your comment. I guess trust can verify. My office is in the industrial park. We put Sherwin-Williams in there 20 years ago. The planning board granted us a special permit that there would be no odors released. And to the best of my knowledge, in 20 years, I've not been aware, nor has the city been aware of any odor complaints. We are putting in our lease that there will be no release of odors, that the lease will immediately be forfeit if there is any odors. I know that marijuana is a new industry, but we've been around for a while, and I would look to our success with the tenants that we have. Many of them have noxious materials, and we don't have any problems, best of my knowledge. And I think we would pretty much tell the city, at the best of our ability, will continue to have no problems and be a good neighbor. That's our intention.
And again, I don't profess to be a particularly knowledgeable of this. I just know it is a potential issue and has been an issue at other facilities for people.
Excuse me.
I just want to make sure that we're doing our due diligence here and making sure that the facility we approve has, the appropriate levels of abatement. So I'd like to see some sort of data on that. Not that we as a board would necessarily be in a position to evaluate it, but I'm sure that, the city, could in some way have someone review it that may have a more expertise than we have sitting here tonight to be able to say, this is adequate. It's a concern, again, not a criticism. I just want to make sure that, if we grant this permit, that we've done everything that we can possibly do to assure that this is adequately addressed.
Mr. Plath is our facilities director. He could speak a little, probably better about it than I would.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is David Plath, from Dedham, Massachusetts. Regarding this facility, it's going to be a state-of-the-art facility with all of the new systems that go into making it really a one-of-a-kind facility. As far as the filtration systems that you're speaking about, a mechanical engineer would have a good idea of the type of components that, if you would be looking for someone to review it. So if you have a mechanical engineer on staff, they'd probably be the best suited. Between the internal filtration system on our internal flower rooms, and filtrations, HEPA filtration and MERV 14 to 16 filtration on the return air systems of the building, will completely mitigate any odor coming out. So you really have 2 to 3 layers of filtration that any odors would be caught in the return air system. As far as the supply air, everything is really enclosed. These, we're going to be using a chilled water system for our cooling. It's very, very efficient. Really state-of-the-art new systems will be in. And we're still in the design phase right now, where we're still, conceptual designs, but we're going to best utilize the space to be energy efficient, and always keeping in mind odor control. But it will be the newest and latest, greatest technologies as far as what's out there right now.
And again, I just want to make sure that, we as a board are comfortable with it, and I think that will require, a higher level of expertise. If in fact we don't have anyone on staff in the city, we may end up, asking for something like a peer review, like we've done with traffic issues, which we would ask the applicant to fund, and have an independent, engineer, give us their recommendation. Again, not a criticism, but a concern that I just want to make sure we've done our due diligence, and it will not be a problem.
Of course.
Okay. That's my. I do not believe so. I believe it's my understanding that, and you might correct me if I'm wrong, Patrick, that we rely on the regulations promulgated by the Cannabis Control Commission.
Yeah.
To my knowledge, correct.
That was the answer I got when I spoke to staff about this last week, I believe, and, that they're, basically relying on the, the regulations from the Cannabis Control Commission.
There's going to be something, there is a cultivation facility here in town already, so.
And we've had problems with that, and the Board of Health is looking into shutting it down because it makes a lot of smell in the area, and people are complaining. So now it's brought the attention of the Board of Health, and the Board of Health is looking at it. People in the neighborhood are complaining about it. So that's where this,
So,
now it's going to end up. The Board of Health is considering having a hearing on it.
What their failure was.
Oh, I don't know. That's out of my jurisdiction. I don't deal with the Board of Health. But I know they're considering taking it up because they've had numerous complaints.
So I think we're trying to avoid.
Yeah.
Understood,
So what happens now, it's built, it's there.
Yeah, we're doing our
They
best.
got the approval by the Cannabis Control Commission, and a lot of neighbors are complaining about it. People who don't even live there who drive through that part of the city are complaining about it. So the Board of Health is looking at it. That's the update I got when I asked the question.
So therefore, Mr. Chairman, to just kind of, I think, wrap up what we're all thinking here, in order for us to move forward on this, we would like to see that plan, and if we have someone on staff in the city, a mechanical engineer or someone who is capable and has the qualifications to review that, fine. If not, we would ask the applicant to fund an independent peer review by an engineer, a qualified engineer, to give us their recommendation. Both you and us.
So part of the final construction documents, that would be where all of the filtrations would really be identified.
But I think in order to approve it, we need to have, some level of comfort.
Like product data sheets and like simple schematics, something?
Again, I'm not an engineer, and I'm not going to be the one that's going to, and I don't think anyone on this board are going to be the ones to sit here and say yay or nay from a standpoint of this is adequate or isn't. We don't profess to be qualified for that. But we do want to see that, at least I would like to see that take place. No, I'm looking a design that can be reviewed by a qualified engineer and render an opinion as to whether they believe this, is technically adequate to abate any odor emanation from that facility.
I'm an engineer by training, but since when I took the test, this didn't exist. But
do you have to submit that information to the Cannabis Control Commission?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, why don't you submit it to us, and we'll have somebody here look it over?
That's fine, we can do that.
Okay. So what I'm suggesting is the Cannabis Control Commission has hopefully the expertise, at least they've been challenged.
I
with it.
understand that.
And I think
And the
that
expertise
I'm
now
They can get it.
hasn't been working so far with us.
I'm just going to tell my tenants that they need to get something from the Cannabis Control Commission that says that they meet or exceed all the requirements.
No,
Not necessarily.
Nope, nope.
No, that isn't what I'm saying here.
You're just asking that, you get whatever you submitted to them, give a copy to us, we'll have an engineer look it over.
Yes, sir.
Sure.
That's all, very simple.
And
If you have it submitted to them already, then you already have the draft, you already have the information. All you're asking to do is give us some paper.
I'm sure we could get
We can do
real-world situations from other dispensary
Yeah,
owners. or-
not a problem. I mean, just show us what you got, and we'll see if somebody in-house can handle it. If not, we'll see if we can have somebody else take a look at it. Okay?
That's
Probably
my
what
main
we're-
concern here. So,
I mean, I'm saying if you have that draft for the cannabis control, what you're doing to control the odor, then submitting the same thing to us would not be difficult, right?
That's not a problem, yeah.
I mean, it's not a burden on you. Yeah, okay.
and if whoever reviews it feels they need additional information, they can ask at that time, perhaps what you already have is adequate. We're not in a position to know that.
Definitely do not want to bother the neighbors.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the last
We
part.
do not want to bother the neighbors. We want
Oh, I understand. Oh, I get it. I get it. I mean, no one's intent is. I mean, no one's intent is. We get that,
We're all trying to do this right.
That's all.
It's a new business.
Yep.
I have not heard about the neighbors complaining.
Oh, we have, yeah. The people, yeah. I hear from people, don't even know I sit on this board, just said, gee, I drove by the other day. Do you know what's going on there? I'm like, no, I don't. But I kept hearing it from other people, so. People who don't even live in the neighborhood.
Right.
We do know that there's a skunk population in town, too.
So, yeah, but they knew the difference.
I'm sure they do.
Anything else? Dick?
I have some,
Yeah, I'm just waiting to see if Dick has anything else.
No, I think we've thoroughly covered that, shall we say.
Okay, Mr. Guy?
yeah, I had some, some questions and concerns. First question is, what times of day would you guys be expecting deliveries if we were to approve this?
With 9 to 5 schedule.
Okay, all right. We'll also like to see you consider putting wheel stops in the parking spaces and submitting a revised plan with at least 11 spaces. I know that we already touched upon that you guys do have that, but you did not submit the plan before the meeting, so unfortunately, it's nothing we could do with the board there. The site plan also doesn't indicate any area of snow storage. We touched upon that as well. That'll have to be resubmitted. The site plan does not show existing or proposed lighting. We touched upon that. That'll also have to be resubmitted. And solid waste and recycling had quite a few comments. I don't know if you guys have seen them.
Yep.
Have you?
Yep.
Okay. So I'll just read them for the record. Dumpster enclosure should be straight, head in as best possible. Pad enclosure should be large enough for 2 dumpsters, 1 trash, 1 recycle. Area in front of enclosure shall be painted, no parking. Pad enclosure shall meet setback requirements. Applicant should perform turn radius calculation confirming that collection vehicle can perform U-turn on site. So that'll, I think, also need to be in a revised site plan. And I'm sure my other board members have concerns. That's all I have for now. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Guy. Mr. Fischett?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think we've established we cannot make a decision here this evening. And the idea of the odor, and I don't want to beat that to death, but I do have a relative that lives near the other facility, and I've heard from them regarding the odor, so. And it is relatively new, we want to get it right, so that's something that, and it is part of our zoning ordinance, and it is part of our responsibility in the approval process to make sure that that's properly addressed. So we would be negligent if we didn't. I think you've got a challenge with the access. I think that's, at this point, based on what you're presented here this evening, and we don't have it before us, I didn't have any time to look at it, nor has the city's traffic engineer had a chance to look at it, or staff had a chance to look at it. Based on the prior submission, there really wasn't any comments from the traffic engineer other than the fact that staff indicated we need clarification of whether or not you had access to the property. And And then that speaks to the snow removal, snow storage, if in fact you are going all the way around the building. I suspect everybody that went to visit the site did exactly what I did and the chairman did, and we went right,
Left.
the quickest point between two areas is a straight line, right? You pull in,
Yep.
you can see the sign, pull right in. Matter of fact, what struck me is the parking spots along the property line, you had to stick out, the cars were sticking out into the travel way because the snow was just, and we haven't had a lot of snow at that point when I went out there. The snow was just piled straight in there. So even that was an area of concern. I'd like to have a better idea when you come back before us too, as far as your deliveries. I know it looks like you're going to do some deliveries, but then you're going to have some retail pickup deliveries. Is that correct? How's that going to work?
So we will have contracts in place with retail outlets. So when our product is finished and dried, so it's approximately 2 times a month, there'll be a vehicle that leaves our property to deliver the product itself. So that's, in terms of traffic flow, that's 2 times a month.
So will retailers, in their effort to buy supply, and I mean, will they be visiting the site?
No.
No.
No, it's our job to deliver it to
Okay.
them.
Strictly.
And if for their reason they don't want to accept a delivery charge or whatever may be in place for that, they would be allowed to come to our facility and pick it up. So if we did it or if they came and got it, it's the same amount of travel.
So they could pick it up.
They could if they wanted to, yeah.
So conceivably, you could have different retailers picking up at different times.
Well, we are wholesalers, but he's saying that the retailers would come and pick up from us. So technically, yes.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to.
But with product availability on a limited basis, then we can structure how many times they come a month. And the goal is to do it only twice a month, so biweekly.
But again, for the transportation plan idea, as this more, so let's face it, this is a new industry.
Yes.
And as this continues to evolve, that may not be necessarily the case. So I just want to make sure that the access is going to be something that's adequate, because you're not really driving down a road, you're driving between 2 parking areas that services 2 buildings to get around.
Right.
And quite frankly, I took pictures of that, but I didn't drive around because I didn't ever imagine in a million years that would be the access to your loading dock.
Right.
And
I tried to drive around, but I couldn't.
Couldn't you?
Nope. There's trucks and everything at the back you couldn't get through.
Yeah, there is, I went around.
No way in the world I could get through, and I have a small car.
In reality, regardless of what we put in place, I think, unless you have a barrier there, your driver is going to take off and take a quick right around.
And if you mention that, a barrier is something that could be installed to negate traffic from going left, then there is only one way to go. So if a fence is the call, then a fence may be the call.
It'll be interesting to see what you come up with when you sit with staff in the traffic engineer as well. And I don't want to create more of a problem where you have alternate access, but again, based on the plan you're showing us too, it looks like you're going to have to take off the corner of the building. I'm trying to understand from the access, I mean, you don't have to provide a plan, but you're moving parking spaces, but the space between what would be, where they're asking for an easement versus the corner of the building is not very large.
No, the discussion has been that if the easement is not granted from Mass Electric, that we would take off 15 to 18 feet of the building to actually have.
You have to take off some of the building. Okay,
That's-
so we have to
that's
see
the
that
discussion.
plan. Yeah, we really have to see that plan.
Yeah.
Would you like me to show you where we're going to take the corner of the building? I'm going to take it off anyway. So.
Right.
No, we'd have to see that on plan for your,
Right,
Yeah, site plan.
yep,
site plan.
and that'd have to be up, yep.
And the lighting from site plan review is, Sue, is there is an obligation to make sure that the lighting does not glare onto neighboring properties. So that's, there's a security reason to be looking at the lighting, and there's other external reasons why the planning board would be looking at that, so. All right, and I think we're all in agreement you'll be coming back with a
Sounds like it.
revised plan. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Chang, any questions, comments, or?
Yes, I do have, Lou, question on, let's see, first of all, I just want to confirm that the turning radius study you submitted is based on the easement have not been resolved yet, right? It's going through the shortest route right now, right? The one that we received with the fire truck and the delivery. It's not going around the building, so just want to remind you that when you...
Could you come to the microphone, please, so anyone speak? Because we're live on TV, so when you sit over there, they think we're talking to ourselves. Thank you.
Yep. So when the new proposal for the proposed drive has been implemented, excuse me, that turning radius should have been reflected in where the new traffic would flow. It's just the opposite of where it is now, and that's a piece we have missed, so sorry. But we will address that in the new one.
Okay, thank you. And also, under the site review plan, like the same position along with the security plan mentions that the site plan has to provide safe and convenient access for pedestrian and bicyclists too. And I would think that like going around the building might be a little bit more of a concern for people that may arrive not by vehicle. So I think when you do the new plan, you will have to incorporate that.
Have a bicycle lane of some sort?
Not necessary, but like I would think that a bicyclist will have a safe and convenient. I know going around the building is not convenient, but but just like have to think about that.
Yeah, it calls for pedestrian access, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Right.
I mean, walking through a parking lot with our sidewalk is definitely not very safe.
Right, we understand.
With a lot of truck backing up, so. And also, let's see. And on a lot of the memos mentions that like, including the security plan and the fire department also mentions that they have continuous review. I mean, as the design continues, I know that they acknowledge there is no concern right now, but as the design come along, then just have to work with them to finalize the security plan. And also, I remember the fire department memo mentioned that they would like to have a building code analysis on that. So please respond to those comments as well.
Yep.
And that's all I have.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So as we discussed, there's things on a plan that we haven't received, so we're going to have to continue the meeting because several things are lacking. So is there any date that the applicant thinks they can have those things available to us? I mean, we still need the parking spaces, the signage, the lighting plan, the dumpster area, and the snow storage, just for a few.
Yep, that's something I can have within a week.
The easement, don't be.
And then the question is whether you're going to address the easement or not, and if that comes back, if you give us one plan about the drive around or the easement, then we'll make a determination which way is appropriate. Staff says we can't approve it without the easement, so we'll see what the alternative is, but we'll see what their comments are when they come back, and they'll have it checked with our law department.
Okay, and we'll do our best to give you as many options as we can provide, and whichever one you feel is most adequate, we can.
I mean, basically, you bring in, because when I went down around the back, how do you get through around the back?
Yeah.
Well, the proposed section, he owns a section of land behind there, so we would actually create a wider space to actually.
So as of now,
it doesn't exist now. No.
No way to get back there.
No.
Because I went in that way, I went in the other way.
No,
I turned.
It doesn't exist now, but
because it's all stopped and all trucks are in, then there's a fence.
Yeah, the proposed road would be to actually take out the fence and pave behind the building to come around to the other side.
Yeah, all right.
The reason we're putting the alternate way in is to satisfy concerns of
The easement,
of our board members. It's
the easement.
Yeah,
That was raised by staff, not the board members.
right.
Okay.
I believe that we'll be able to work this out with the power company, but
Okay, so
ever work with the power company if tomorrow I said to them,
Nope.
I'd like to get a license, and they said it's X number of dollars. I believe it took almost a year to do the license that we had in 1995 to 2015. They know it's there. We're tiptoeing around the issue because, and I'm sorry to waste your time,
It's not a
the
problem.
whole solar industry thing, and the city wanted solar, everybody wants solar, except for the power company. So we're getting involved. To show good faith and a workaround, we never had that.
Right. But if you don't have access to your site, then we can't approve it.
Yeah,
Very simple. So it's either
The new plan
A or
that
B.
will be submitted to you will show that parcel and will also show the building that we're going to take down.
Okay.
So hopefully the power company issue will become moot. And if we get permission, that'll be fine. The other thing is, I don't know if you realize that most of the trucks now, the heavy trucks, do come in and go between the two buildings. Sherwin-Williams, Advanced Office Installers, Beacon Roofing, they do go down that way. And the truck traffic that's there now compared with what he's going to put on is de minimis. I mean, I would say Sherwin-Williams takes 5 or 6 trucks a day. Beacon takes 5 or 6 trucks, so that...
But as of now, they have access to that.
Oh, I'm not saying it doesn't, but I'm just saying that it
As long as they have access, they're all set.
kind of works now. We're trying to keep it working the way it
Yeah.
should.
But now you have a new application, a new procedure, everything else, so now you got to meet site plan approval, which, I mean, this isn't even a special permit, this is just basic site plan. I mean, basic site plan, you need the lighting, the dumpsters, the snow storage, the parking spaces, the signage.
Everything.
They run every site plan that comes in. If they don't have them, we can't approve them, it's very simple.
Sir, could we be granted a continuance?
Sure, no problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, so new plans you submit to us, all have to go to staff, staff has to get them, give them back to all department heads, which would be the traffic engineer, the city engineer, the planning department, the fire department again. The fire department look all the way around, your access will up and all the road, and we need them time to comment back to us. So we can put them off for 2 weeks, and we won't have those comments in 2 weeks, so you can come back, and then we can ask another, you can ask for another continuance, then we can give you another one, and then if you don't have that in another 2 weeks, we can give you another one. Or we can just give you a solid date that hopefully you can have all your things in line, and hopefully then we could act on it all in one meeting.
Well, we feel that what you have requested is something that we can do in the next couple of weeks, and hopefully the next time is our last time to seek the approval that we need. So we appreciate your time, and thank you.
Mr.
We have to
Chairman,
vote on it first.
Yeah.
So we can either vote to deny it, or we can vote to continue it. But hold on.
To the applicant, though, the next meeting is the 18th.
18th,
And then the following meeting after that is April 1st.
April 1st.
So, and I don't know, we need to have adequate time for staff to look. You're basically submitting a whole new plan for the most part,
Right.
a new site plan.
I think April 1st would probably be your best bet, so.
Can we take the date after that, just to be safe and
That would be April
comfortable?
15th.
April 15th.
Well, no, that would be the 20, what do we, that falls right on the,
April the,
The Thursday holiday, I'm not going to be.
April 18th,
April 18th, yeah,
Thursday, April 18th.
April 18th.
So we can either do April 1st, if you can have it done by then, or we could go to the 18th.
Mr.
18th should
Chairman,
be
I think the
adequate.
18th might be better because we're still looking for that engineering review.
Sure, okay.
And if that has to go outside of city staff, I'm sure that that's not something that's going to happen in a week.
Right. Our growing consultant that I explained earlier has the connections with all the filtration systems and such, and I'm sure he can adequately put together something that would satisfy with the town.
Yeah, we
need
certainly
something
can look
like
at that,
so we
and,
have something to look at.
Right.
Yeah.
You know.
but we would like to have some independent verification, whether it be by city staff or an outside engineer with that level of expertise. And, and again, because this is such a new endeavor, perhaps city staff may not be in a position to adequately evaluate it. So we just want to make sure that we do.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
So will you
So,
want to continue to April 1st or April 18th?
18th, please.
Okay.
April
Mr. Guys, you want to put that in the form of a motion?
Yeah, I'll file a motion to continue to the April 18th meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion made and second. All in favor?
aye?
Aye.
Chair votes yes. Good luck, we'll see you back next month.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
You're welcome, sir. Good luck. Moving along on the agenda, we have any further comments from any of the board members?
Yes, I have an historic board report. We've had a number of personnel changes on the board. I just want to take the opportunity to acknowledge the efforts of two people that have stepped down. Deb Grossman, our representative from the Great Lowell Bar Association, is being replaced by Kerry Reagan Jeunesse. And Peter Osella, the assistant superintendent of the National Park, is stepping down. He's actually retiring, although he's still going to do the summer music series. He's going to give his time to do that. And he's being replaced by Christine Bruins. They've already been appointed, and there's a number of other new people on here that I won't go through tonight, but those two individuals have given a lot to the historic board over the many years, and they'll be missed.
Did you get reappointed to the historic board
Yes.
recently?
Yeah, it was a month ago, and
Yeah. I saw that in the paper, but it said you got reappointed to the planning board, what the paper said, and I knew that was incorrect.
That's
I knew
not
that was
until
incorrect.
September. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that's
And
what I
I
thought.
took
I knew
the
you were up for appointment for the historic board, and
Yeah.
I knew your
That's
term for
all.
the planning board is not up yet, so I'll just,
No.
when I read it, I said, I don't think that's accurate, but.
That's all set. And our next meeting is March 11th.
Okay.
We have a petition from the National Grid. They want to tear down a building on School Street on the left there, the one that's partially boarded up. As you go up, there's a big old yellow brick building. They want to tear it down, and it's in an historic district, and you just can't tear something down in the historic district without going through the steps of justification, which we'll do on the 11th. That's all I have.
Thank you. Any other board members? No? Patrick, anything from staff?
No, next meeting, March 18th, is continuance of 42 Highland Street and then 26 Wellman Street.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay. For the record, I just want to welcome our new associate member, Pleb Chang, and we welcome aboard. Wish you well.
Thank you.
If we have no further other business, we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
Motion made, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We have adjourned. Good night, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
So your first meeting was kind of a short one, which was good.
Yeah, it was.
Well, enough to think about.
Yeah, you know, so that's like you said, you know.
Get an idea of how it operates.
Yeah, I mean, one of the basic things we try to do is